So here is the now infamous R51 that you've seen in the last, I think 3 videos from us on the channel. We've had tons of problems out of this firearm. If you haven't watched them, I encourage you to go do so, especially if you're thinking about picking one of these up. Now, when we first posted the video, we kind of got a lot of slack from people saying that this one was a lemon and we don't know what we're talking about. But we now know that several people are having the exact same issues that we're having. So it's kind of confirmed what we've seen in this particular R51. Now, like I said, there's several videos out now showing, how this thing performs, and it's really not good. So let's talk about a few of the issues really quick before we break down the firearm. The grips working their way loose after about 100-150 rounds. That has happened before with other firearms. It's not really a big deal. A little Torx driver will tighten those right on up, so not a big problem. Now, but that did cause a bigger issue because they actually work their way loose, and I'm going to talk about that later in the video. Now you can see right here there's a little pin that is pushed out a little bit here, and I've actually pushed that back in. That actually worked its way loose too, which is kind of a big deal. Pins should not be falling out of the firearm in 150 to 300 rounds. We would have put a lot more rounds through this firearm, but unfortunately the gun did not want to cooperate. So we were unable to do so. We have a little over 300 rounds through the gun. It will be taking a trip back to Remington. We also will be reviewing that process. We're not going to tell them that we are a reviewer. So we'll actually get, honest treatment and be able to tell you guys how they're going to handle the problem for you. So just a ton of problems. The slide would lock back without a magazine in the gun. We have cleared this. We'll clear it now for you. When we first got it, and after you shoot it a little bit, it does want to stick open. Now, a lot of people have commented and concerned that if you put the slide stop on wrong after you tear the gun down, that indeed it will hold the slide open, and that is true. But that was not the issue. When that was happening, the gun was never broke down, and then when we did break it down to field strip it, it was in properly. So that is not the case. These guns that you see that are sticking, they are just gritty, and it's just not good quality in my opinion. So, but we're going to go ahead. There's a ton of play in this trigger, which I talk about here later too. It's just not put together well enough. That's just my personal opinions. Some of the other issues we had, the gun firing out of battery, which is really unsafe and scary, to be honest. Then the inability to fire defensive rounds out of this weapon, which is, brought to market and touted as a CCW gun. We had tons of trouble trying to shoot defensive ammo. We tried several different grains and brands with very little success. But yeah, the slide would seize sometimes when we were firing. This is all caught on tape. You can see these in the previous videos on the channel. But one of the things we wanted to actually go over was a lot of people are talking about how difficult the firearm is to break down to field strip. And it's really not that bad, to be honest with you. It is, certain portions of it are very similar to a 1911. We're going to go ahead and field strip it for you here today. Now, it is different from what, most guns, the way they break down. So it may seem a little difficult to people at the beginning, but it's really not that bad. And we're going to go ahead and show that to you now. So like a 1911, you have the takedown lever here, or the slide stop, and it goes through the frame right here with a pin, which you can see coming out the other side here. Here on the frame, you'll see there's 2 notches. You have the slide lock notch, the bigger one here, and then the takedown notch right in front of it, the smaller portion. Now, all you're going to do is you're going to line up the takedown notch with this pin on the takedown lever here. And once you have those lined up, you should be able to just pull the takedown lever out once you have it lined up. Let me see here. There we go. So far, pretty easy. Now, you'll notice on the end of the barrel here, there's some serrations. Hopefully you can see that. What those are for you to grab. And when you grab those, you can pull the slide right off of the gun. And then while holding it forward, you can pull out the breech block, which is right here. Now this, actually dump that right out here. And then what you're gonna do is release the tension here, and you'll pull the barrel back. Now right here is where a lot of people are having issues. This bushing right here for the recoil spring. Now what you're going to do, basically the barrel acts as a guide rod basically, or recoil rod. What you're going to do is there's some notches here in the slide, and you can see them, they're up here. You pull the bushing back, and then you can tilt it up at about a 45-degree angle. And I'm going to show that to you right now. So if you'll notice, I do have that tilted out. And then what you can do is pull the barrel out. Barrel assembly comes right out. And then what you'll do now is you'll continue to pull the bushing and spring assembly out. You just got to push it back a little bit and pull it out just like so. And that's pretty much it. You've broken down the firearm. And we're going to have a closer look at this and the wear on the slide frame here in just one second. But I'm going to go ahead and reassemble this for you now, and it's just a reverse process. It's really pretty simple. The recoil spring can go in either way. You're just going to slide it in right there, take your bushing, and then you're going to slide this back just like you did to tear it down until it goes in there at about a, I don't know if it's 45, but whatever degree that is, and you're going to put your barrel in. And then push it back. Now the most difficult part here is getting the barrel lined up with the end of the slide here, and you have to do that in order to put your breech block back in. So it's not very difficult. You can see I've just done it. Now all you need to do now is push that forward and slide your breech block back in, and let your barrel assembly go rearward. So now all we have to do is line it up. Now we're back in business. Now here's one of the problems that people are having with this takedown lever. Just like a 1911, when you put this in, once you get this in, you want to come in from the bottom and pop it in. If you don't do so, the spring here on the inside will catch above the slide lock. And in order to tell if you've done this, what will happen is if you rack the slide without a mag in, it will lock back, and you'll have to press the takedown lever, or the slide lock, in order to release it. So here's what you do. You just line it back up with the takedown notch, and once you get that lined up, you should be able to pop that in. There you go. Now, right here, just make sure that you have that in place. And as you can see, we did it correctly. It is not locking up when we pull the slide back. So you can see it's fairly simple. It's really not very difficult. Let's go ahead and we'll actually test that everything works. Magazine is locking the slide back. We'll drop the magazine. Slide goes forward. Trigger breaks. Grip safety is working. So that's pretty much the field strip. Let's get into some more serious issues with the firearm right now. All right, so I've just cleaned the firearm. We didn't do any sort of lubing. I didn't want to get any oil involved because there's a few things that I wanted to point out and show you, and it will be much easier without oil being present. The first, there's two spots that I want to show you on the slide, or the frame itself. And I'm going to try to zoom in a little bit here, and hopefully the camera will focus when I get zoomed in. Okay. Now, first here, yep, it's going to focus there, is you'll see here on the rails here at the end, You can see where it's actually worn away some finish there, but not only that, but it did actually wear away some metal. So there were some metal shavings in here. And this is an aluminum frame on a steel slide, so you know you're gonna see some metal shavings, and I've seen it before. That doesn't concern me too much. But these are actually gouged, and I'm not sure if that's going to show up, but there's some gouges in this metal. Now, where that is even more present, and you may be able to see it even better, is back here. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see that as well as I want you to, but there are actual hunks of metal missing out of the frame on both sides, and that's kind of disturbing. I don't think those big hunks should be missing out of the frame itself, but I wanted to show you that. Now, while we're on the frame too, let me zoom back out here just a little bit. There's a couple other things that I want to show you, and we'll have to take the grips off in order to show you one of them. But if you'll look down from above here, not sure if you can see right here, we have one of the pins that has worked its way loose basically in firing. Now, if you've watched all three of the videos that I've done on this weapon, you'll know that we put about a little over 300 and some odd rounds through the gun. And we wanted to put a lot more through it, but it just wasn't possible because both times that the gun actually went out, it prevented us from doing so. And I believe the gun to be unsafe at this point. So I'm probably not going to fire it anymore. This will be going back to Remington in this condition the way it is now. So yeah, this pin has worked its way loose, and you know, when you're firing, I didn't notice it. Maybe because I had gloves on some of the time or whatever, but that is not the only pin to work its way loose. So I'm actually going to go ahead and push this back in with my finger if possible. And it is going back in. So that's one of the things that I wanted to show you. And I'll push that in the rest of the way here in a second. So the other thing I wanted to show you is the trigger. There is a lot of play in this trigger. Yeah, the trigger has tons of play, and I wanted to show that to you. And I'm trying to get an angle that you'll be able to actually see that on. There's like way too much play in this trigger. And yes, there may be a little play where the slide is not on the weapon, but this is also present when the slide is on the weapon. So there's just way too much play. There's too much slop in this trigger for my taste. And we've already talked about there's zero reset in this trigger. That's one of the things I don't like. And I'm really not sure that you can see how much wiggle that is in this. You know, that just doesn't scream quality to me. So one of the other things that I also wanted to point out, we'll have to take the slides or take the grips off in order to show you that, and I'm going to go ahead and do that. Now, you guys know the grips actually came loose during our first outing, which really isn't that big of a deal. That happens sometimes on firearms. But had they used regular screws, it really wouldn't have been a big deal. But I know, you know, a lot of you guys are like me, you have a bunch of tools out in the garage, but Torx, a lot of guys don't have Torx drivers. So, you know, if you buy one of these and you don't have one, your grips come loose, you got to go out and get one or borrow one. But we're going to go ahead and take these grip panels off, and they didn't come really loose during the last outing with the gun, but they were about to. There's basically no pressure that I'm having to put to take these screws out. So they were going to come loose. Now, a little Loctite would have fixed that. Now this one on the bottom was still tight. So yeah, but a little Loctite will fix that. So let's take this one off. Now, during the first outing, let's see if we can get it in focus here. During the first time out, you'll see here in the corner, there is actually a pin. And if you'll remember, the grips came really loose when I took it out for its first maiden test. Now, what had happened was, here on the other side, this grip came really loose, and that pin right here actually worked its way out into the other side of the grip, and it completely came out of being set in here. So in order to get that back in, it was really difficult actually. What I had to do was actually put like a needle point in here, or more like an ice pick, and push from the other side to get that set back in. So you really want to watch the grips on the R51. If they're coming loose, you want to keep track of that and tighten them up before that's able to happen. Now if the grips are tight, there's no way for that to happen because it just pushes up against the plastic here of the grip. So just keep an eye out for that. That pin is really loose in this particular gun. I'm not sure if it's like that for all the guns, but 2 pins in the gun in less than 300 rounds have actually worked its way out of the gun. So that's also not a good thing. But I'm gonna go ahead and throw these back on, and then I'll show you some other aspects of the weapon. By the way, I actually like Torx bits for grips, but a lot of guys just, you know, don't have them. I'm gonna check this side just to make sure they're tight. And they're still tight. Okay. So next, what I wanted to show you here, let me see if I can push this pin down just a little bit here with this Torx head. Next, I wanted to show you the wear on the actual slide as soon as we get focused in here. And nothing really sticks out to me here except for the milling work on the inside. I'm sure you can see it setting there already. The milling work in here, these are really deep, and I'm sure this is for some sort of debris collection, but the milling is horrible in my opinion. There's no consistency to it. If you can see up in there, you can see that's just not consistent, and this could have been done way better. The milling work on this is, in my opinion, is just really, really bad. And I'm going to show you some other examples of that as well. So that inside there is what I'm talking about. Now I'm sure that all these, you know, pistols have this kind of milling in there, but the milling is just, there's no consistency to it. So just it's just bad in my opinion. Now you can see the wear marks and stuff here on the slide, and all that looks pretty normal to me, so I don't really see any real issues inside of here. Now the next thing I wanted to actually show you was on this breech block. The milling on this as well is really bad. They could have really polished this out and done some better milling on this. This is why I didn't oil anything. I wanted you to be able to see that, and I'm not sure how well this is going to show in the camera, but I believe this is a lot of the reason for the grittiness and the slide actually catching. Sorry, I had to move the frame out of the way. Is because of this poor milling on the breech block. Now I can take my finger. I'm not sure if you can hear that, but it's rough. Now you could polish this out on your own, you know, but you shouldn't have to do anything like that when you get this weapon. It's just really rough. And here on the other side as well, you can hear my nails catching on it. It's just really poor machining, and it should have been polished, in my opinion, from the factory and smoothed out. I think that would solve a lot of the problems with the sticky slide and all that sort of thing, is just the milling. So I'll give you a good look at the breech block here. There's where you're firing the pin. Hammer hits here and pushes the firing pin out the front. See if I can get an angle where you can see that. But yeah, it's just poor milling in, you know, in my opinion. Now here's a look at the barrel. Now the barrel actually probably has the best milling, as it should probably. The actual feed ramp is polished pretty well and is pretty smooth. Now there is a problem with this barrel and the machining though, that I don't believe I'm going to be able to show you on camera. Let me grab a flashlight and maybe we'll be able to see it, but I'll be right back. Okay, so this is the best view that I have been able to get. The milling inside the chamber area here is uneven. It's smooth, but there's a unevenness to it. There's dips and valleys in there. Not sure if that's a big deal or not, but it is there. And I'm not sure how well this is actually going to be coming over the camera. I know you're not going to be able to see there. It's going to blind you. But yeah, there's definitely issues inside of here. And it's something I haven't noticed in any of my other firearms. So that's the best I could do as far as showing you that aspect of it. Now, I haven't noticed any other issues or anything with this. It seems fine. So I haven't noticed any other issues or anything, or, you know, wear that would concern me on the barrel or anything like that. This seems to be fine, except for inside the chamber here. That's pretty well everything that I wanted to show you. Now, just to show you what I was showing you earlier, the gun is together, and you can see if I can get a good angle again. This is hard to show the trigger. You can still see all of that play in this trigger, and that's just, it shouldn't be there. I mean, you know, there's going to be a little play, but that's just way too much play, in my opinion. So as far as shooting it anymore, I know some guys have asked me to clean and lube it and go back out and try defensive ammo as the first rounds through it, but I don't believe I'm going to do that, because if you go back and watch the video, and now there's lots of other videos actually coming out now as well. Let me see if I can get that pin to push in there just a little more. But there's lots of videos as well now showing, you know, similar problems to what I've showed. The gun, I believe, is firing out of battery at times. I know there's some other YouTubers that have actually showed their guns firing out of battery, you can tell. But I just don't believe it's safe. I know the trigger has broke with the gun being out of battery. I've actually caught that on film. You can see it in some of the videos, which to me, that's very unsafe. This gun should not fire being out of battery. Let's go ahead and, okay. Like right now, this firearm is out of battery, and if we can click the grip, you can see it's out of battery by looking at the front, and it did just fire. You can tell that because we'd have to reset. So that is a no-no, and I believe very dangerous. The weapon should not fire. It should not strike the hammer, or the hammer should not fall and strike the firing pin when it is out of battery. That is a dangerous situation. And now I have shown this on tape that it's happened. And also, we've had instances where we were going to fire and we would pull the trigger and it would feel like that the trigger broke. And there is no audible or actual tactile reset on this gun, but it actually felt funny after I pulled the trigger, like it had reset. And then I was able to pull the trigger again and it fired. I'm not sure what's going on with that. I cannot explain that, but that too is dangerous. This is not a double action firearm, so that should not happen. You should have to rack and reset that trigger, which we didn't have to do. Now, here's another thing that I want to talk about. Now, I'm going to actually roll in some video from Military Arms video that he did drifting this sight with his finger. Now, this particular one, we're not able to do that. This rear sight is in tight, and we do have permission to use this material, so check this clip out real quick.
Work right. I hadn't shot this gun, but this is the gun we got into the shop here, and first thing you'll notice is the rear sight can be drifted right out of the gun with no tools. The other problem that I noticed was that just trying to pull the slide to the rear is very difficult. I'm not exaggerating things. All right, you drop the magazine out, set that over here, and you let the slide go home. You pull it, you get it to come back. Now I have not engaged the slide stop. The slide should come further to the rear to engage that. I didn't push up on it. If I just touch the rear of the slide, it goes home.
Now, there are plenty of people now showing footage of their weapons doing the exact same thing. So, I mean, this is not just this particular R51. This particular one is not a lemon. We know that. If you go read the comments on some of my videos, there are lots of people in there talking about the same issues that we're showing here. Now, I'm not knocking Remington. I'm not a Remington hater. I actually, you know, own Remingtons and have since I've been a kid. So it's not me bashing Remington. I like Remington products, but I don't think this gun should have ever left Remington's facility with this many problems. I just don't see how this many problems could pass quality control. It makes absolutely no sense to me. And it is a big concern to me about what's going on at Remington. I can tell you that I was really excited about this. I know some people don't like the looks of this. They think it's ugly. I think it's a very cool design. I was very excited about this firearm, and I really wanted it to work. I love it, to be honest with you, the design-wise. I like the uniqueness of the Pedersen design action. I think it's very cool. A lot of guys that have the old M51s really like those guns. I was trying to find one to compare this to kind of show you guys, you know, the difference between old and new. I wasn't able to do so before I had to send this back. But yeah, I'm not impressed with this firearm. And I believe that, in my personal opinion, I think Remington should recall the R51s that are out at this point in time. I know there's been some great reviews of it. I don't know if those guns were handpicked and sent to reviewers. I'm not sure, but I do know people that have multiples of these that have problems out of them. So I just don't know what to say. But this one will be going back, and whether or not I'm going to continue with it once it comes back, I'm not sure. It may just find a new home, because really my confidence is lost in it. And to be perfectly honest, there were times when firing this that I probably shouldn't have been, because I was very nervous about the gun. But I did, of course, want to show you guys. Now, here's another issue that has been brought to my attention as well, are the backs of these magazines. There's been a few people say that theirs are splitting right down the middle. Now, I've looked at these and I haven't noticed that they're split yet, but I guess they're replacing some of these for people that have had them split in the middle. And I've looked at mine and I don't see a split in either of them at this point. But that's just another, you know, another nail in the coffin for the Remington R51, in my opinion. But like I said, if it were me, I definitely would not be picking one of these up. I think there's a lot better choices out there right now. So that's my opinions, guys. And, you know, like I said, I was really excited about it. And I guess what we'll do, since I got to send this off anyways though, is I will go ahead and do, we'll check it on the trigger gauge just to see what the trigger pull is and how consistent it is on the R51. Oops, hold on. I guess I need to set it and get it ready. Are we ready? So it broke at 6.85 pounds. And let's go ahead and try it a few more times here. Set on the trigger. This time it broke at about 710 or 710 and a half. Let's do it again. 8.60 on that one. One more here. And 6.75 on that one, which is going to give us an average of about 7.40. So not too horribly bad on the trigger, but the movement in the trigger, now that's a completely different story. But that's pretty much it. The other thing, there is one last thing that I actually almost forgot to tell you guys. This mag release, it is ambidextrous, but really it's not very good. I actually have a difficult time dropping the magazine a lot of these, and if you're wearing gloves, it is really difficult. And the reason for that is, I'll zoom in just a bit here and show you real quick, is if you'll notice around here, this is flush to the rest of the firearm. And if you'll notice on a lot of other firearms, the magazine release is raised and it makes it easier to get to. Now I understand maybe why they might have thought this was good, so you can't accidentally release the magazine or whatever if you're concealed carrying. Now, that's never happened to me. I've never really accidentally released the mag. I have on certain firearms while taking certain grips, but I've never really had issues. But it's just difficult to get to because it is flush with everything else. So that's just another problem that I think could be fixed. I think they just need to raise these magazine releases just a bit to make them easier to actuate. Now the magazines are drop freeze. They do drop free very well. I'll show that to you real quick as well. So no issue there, but in order to actuate this, I'm actually having to take the tip of my thumb, and I mean, you should just be able to go like that. And right now it is very difficult in order to do that like you would on a normal firearm. You can do it with the shooting, your trigger finger here, which does make it a little bit easier. But that's just one other issue that I'm having with the R51. Now I will also be, reviewing Remington's customer service and how they handle and deal with me with this firearm. Of course, I'm not going to tell them I'm a reviewer or anything like that, because I want to get an honest overview of how they're going to treat anyone that has a problem with the R51. And from the looks of it, there's going to be a lot of those. So Remington should be ready. So like always, guys, don't forget, tactical is not just a word, it's a mindset and a lifestyle. Thanks for watching, everybody.